Hi everyone, just before we get into another episode of What a Load of Bulls, we just want to give a shout out to our partners, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Newcastle Car and Truck Rental are a locally owned company servicing Newcastle and the Hunter. Todd, Holden and family pride themselves on being part of the local community, and you feel that when you step through their doors. It isn't a different person every time you call, it's the same people taking care of business and taking care of you. So next time you're in need of a rental, be it a truck to move, a ute for those everyday DIY jobs, or a car to get the family around on a day out, be sure to contact the team at Newcastle Car and Truck Rental by visiting www.newcastlerental.com or by calling 02 49 081 081. And don't forget to tell them DJ and Simon sent you. Well, here we are, folks. Episode 44, What a Load of Bulls. Hopefully you enjoyed that new intro coming in there, because we do have a new sponsor or partner, Simon, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Big thank you to Todd, Holden and the family for coming on board, supporting us, mate. So what do you think of that?
Absolutely, yeah. Fantastic that Todd's on board, loves what we're doing. So great to get that support. And look, we're happy to anyone else that wants to support us and get on board as a partner. Happy to have a chat and see if we can help you out and be in a partnership together.
For sure. And for all those listening, make sure you look them up, Newcastle Car and Truck Rental. Tell them that DJ and Simon sent you over. You've heard them on the podcast, mate. They'll be more than happy to look after you there. They're a great family-run business over there, and they're community-based. They're just locals within the Newcastle community. They know what those people want. So by all means, folks, jump on them, support them like they've supported us. We're looking forward to it. All right, mate, that's last week. So we touched on quite a few things last week around about Victorian State Championships, New South Wales State Championships. We managed to get Kelly on board, Kelly McKerihen.
Yeah.
She got permission off Ali to come and have a chat to us.
She's red hot in form at the moment. No better person to come on and talk to about bowls and her game and success and that. Most recent, probably successful person there is in Australia, to be honest. So really good. As soon as I sent her a message saying, would you come on board and have a chat to us, she was dead keen and gave up her time to have a chat. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It's been a while since we had a player interview. We tried one with McWinley Shillington, but he couldn't organise a microphone. We thought we were going to get there with Kelly too, but we didn't quite. But she was able to get over those, and here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelly McKerihen, Canadian international, having a chat to us about her career in general, but also her recent success at the Victorian State title. So here you go, folks. Okay, folks, welcome back. We've got another player interview for you this week. A new special guest visitor. Okay, Canadian international, 17 years, debuting in 2007 at the Atlantic Championships and coming away with 2 bronze medals. 3 times world singles medalist, bronze in 12, 16, and then the silver in 23. 9 Canadian titles, 1 New Zealand title, 2 Australian titles, plus then an Australian Open Fours title. Moved out here in 2015. We've got Kelly McKerihen. Kelly, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
No, not a problem. Thanks for coming on. And thanks to Ali for giving you permission to come on and talk to us as well.
Absolutely.
Does he know? Is he?
Yeah, he's in the living room. Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's good. I know he's a big fan of Simon's.
Absolutely. Well, they're roommates and everything and teammates. So, yeah. Absolutely.
That's it. So Simon loves a name drop every now and again. It's usually Ali, so it is. Please. I guess, Simon, you've got a distinguished career as it is, rightfully so. I mean, like Ryan, I suppose the Canadians seem to do pretty well in the singles. Is there anything in the water over there in Canada that makes you just want to play singles, or what's the go?
I'm not actually quite too sure about that, but I do know that a lot of our junior opportunities when we are younger are predominantly singles-based events.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where that stems from.
It's definitely a niche event. Like, it's the blue ribbon event, but it's not the event that we all sort of play regularly, I suppose. But it's definitely takes a real special mindset, I feel, to be a very good singles player. So you've obviously got that. I mean, like I said, you've medalled at the last 3 Worlds, and you're an Australian singles champion as well. So yeah, you're obviously pretty well established there in the singles arena. Moved out in 2015. Kelly, what brought you out here?
Yeah, so in 2015, I was working back home as a teacher, and just thought it was a really great opportunity with, Commonwealth Games being on the Gold Coast, World Championships in 2016 being Christchurch.
Yep.
Great opportunity to come over to, a powerhouse country where we play on great surfaces against amazing competition, and you can do it 12 months a year. So that was definitely part of the reason to come over, but obviously love was a part of it as well with doing the long distance with Ali. So decided to come on over and see how that worked out. But yeah, love and bowls.
So Ali was a reason, really?
Yeah. Yep. Really.
Oh man, there'll be a few sledges in there. I'm sure you'll get a chance to tell you at some point.
There will be.
Doubling back, mate. So Canada, right? How did it all start for you? Like I said, you debuted back in 2007. All right. So what was the lead up to that point? Like when did you actually start the game? How did you get into it? I know your dad was pretty well established too, wasn't he?
Yeah. So Dad actually played for Canada as well. So he played in the 2006 Commonwealth Games in Melbourne, 2010 in India. Yeah, so grew up in a bowling family, watching some of the earliest memories, watching dad and grandparents play together. So it was always kind of around the game. Our greens are very slow back in Canada, so I wasn't actually probably physically strong enough to throw the ball down the green until I was probably in my teenage years. So I didn't really start playing competitively until I was about 15 years old. And then got myself straight into the junior competitions. Was fortunate enough to win a junior title, under 18 title in 2005, 2006. Anyways, yeah. So just a great opportunity to be, around people my own age playing the game, and being the Canadian juniors and under 25 national championships. I made some lifelong friends there, which kind of got me hooked.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It's pretty similar for a lot of people. It's a real social sport, isn't it, that we play?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, some of my best friends have, all over the world, but yeah, some of the best friends I've ever made are from this game.
Well, who would have thought when you're winning that under 18 title back then, you'd be sitting here now in Australia talking to two Irish blokes on a podcast? It's just a fantastic sport.
Well, no, who would have thought, eh?
I mean, it doesn't get any better. I'm telling you.
But it's one of the great things about this game is, being able to travel all over the world and the opportunities that come about because of it. So it is a great game that way.
100%. How many Commonwealth Games have you been to, Kelly?
Been to 3 Commonwealth Games. So yeah, 2014 in Glasgow, the Gold Coast Games, and then the Birmingham Games.
Yeah, nice. Obviously, great experience that. Maybe being in the Athletes Village, being a multi-sport event. How was that, being at those events?
Yeah, it's a very unique experience. We're so used to going away on tour and playing in these big competitions with only bowlers. So it was a pretty cool experience to be with, the rest of Team Canada and all sorts of different countries and different athletes from all over the world. And just being a part of a greater experience, I guess, per se. Very different than any other normal bowls competition that we're used to.
Yeah, how was the feeling when you first got the call up there?
It's pretty special. Yeah, very special. Anytime you get called up for international duties to play for your country is very special. But the first call up, the first Com Games, the first World Championships, those are definitely even more special.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now that you've been around the world, you've done all that. You're now living in Australia, like we've talked about. Like, just point out for some of our listeners, some of the main differences between bowls in Canada and bowls here in Australia. Like you've said about the 12 months of the year. All right. What's some of the other differences that you found moving out here?
Yeah, so the playing season I think is probably the biggest thing, because back home, our season starts in May and finishes, end of August. So your competitive season is really at mercy to the weather and whatnot. The actual greens and surfaces that we play on are very different. So our greens are very slow and tracky and probably not maintained to the same degree. There's probably not the same kind of funding and money involved in running the clubs like there is here. And I think, you get to a local bowls club anywhere here, just around the corner. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's treated more like a, community hub rather than just a pastime for older people. I think it's the stereotype back home.
Massive. Yeah, community hub is one of the big things we push here as well. It's such a community focused thing. It's just the clubs out here are just so much more than a bowling club. So it is a fantastic thing. So how did the move come about? When did it become a realistic thing for you to move out to Australia? What was it sort of like toing and froing? Do we do it? Do I not do it? Why did Ali not move to Canada? Those type of things.
Yeah, look, I think from the bowl side of things, it was a big draw that, the major competitions were going to be in the Southern Hemisphere over the next kind of 3 to 4 years. So that was a big draw on it. So I came over on a working holiday visa. So I moved over when I was 29 years old. So I didn't have very much time to make that make that decision before that opportunity kind of disappeared. And then obviously connections that you make here in terms of getting different visas to get you here more permanently, obviously that kind of takes care of itself. But I came over on a working holiday visa and loved it.
Yeah, nice. Has it been Victoria pretty much the whole time, Kelly, or were you elsewhere before that?
No, it's always been Victoria. So close to 10 years now.
Yeah, wow. Oh, yeah, I couldn't remember just when Ollie moved down. So you are in Victoria with Ollie. You're at the Clayton Club with Ollie, yes?
Yeah, we are. We've been there for Ollie's almost 10 years to the day. He moved over May 2015 and I moved over in December. So 10 years coming up very soon.
Yeah, nice. So do you have a particular role at the club there, Kelly?
So my role has kind of evolved and changed over the years, but I am currently working as club coach. So working with the club members and instilling programs and absolutely loving it. So there's lots of exciting things happening at the club as we speak. So we're getting a dome put in over one of our greens so we can play kind of rain or shine 12 months a year. And we're going to have 2 grass greens and an undercover synthetics. So very exciting times at the club. Yeah,
fantastic. Is Ollie as cranky as home as he is on the green?
No, he's not actually. In his sleeve, but he's way more cranky. He's way more cranky on the greens. He's just super competitive.
He is. He's a good lad too. He's a good lad. So
yeah.
Kelly, we'll move on to your most recent successes. You obviously took out nearly every single event at the Victorian State Championships. Now, DJ and myself read out a few stats on last week's podcast about the amount of bowls, the amount of games that you played. Can you talk us through how you managed to get through that 8 days of play that you did in order to play the amount of bowls that you did? And what was your mindset during that week?
I actually cannot tell you how I got through it, to be honest. It was probably one of the biggest kind of weeks of bowls on the green, mentally, physically taxing. I knew that in qualifying in 5 events that there was a potential of playing 20 games over the 7 days, but there's so much quality in the fields that you don't actually expect it to actually happen. And I think by the end of it, you just kind of got into robot mode. You're so physically and mentally drained that you just kind of had to go back onto, your training and trust the rhythm that you're in. And luckily, things just kind of aligned really well for me during the trip. That I have some amazing teammates that I joined up with, and often the games that maybe I wasn't up to the same standard, they really kind of supported me and helped me get through it. And they pulled their weight in that sense that we didn't have to be, 100% super good all the time. But their support meant everything, kind of got me through that as well.
Awesome. Did you have any sort of routine, Kelly, or any superstition that you've done throughout the week?
So the routine, every morning have to have my coffee, same breakfast, get to the club at the same time. Those kind of things. You do have to be quite flexible because the schedule was constantly changing to kind of compensate and basically because of all the double ups, the schedule was constantly changing. So you had to have a little bit of flexibility with that side of things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bit superstitious when it comes to, the uniform that I wear. So certain events I wore certain tops and made sure that, for each event that you always wore the same top. Yeah. Little things like that. Yeah.
Was Ollie doing the washing for you, was he?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't have time to do the wash. I was always on the green.
Well, Simon taught him well then, because Simon told me he did all the washing when they lived together.
Yeah, right.
So wait, just like Simon says, it's massive. Women's fours, women's triples, women's singles, mixed pairs, and then a silver in the champion singles. What happened in the women's pairs?
I actually didn't play in my regional event. So the qualifying for our pairs event in the Sandbelt region here in Melbourne just happened to conflict with the Hong Kong Classic that I was participating in. So I actually missed the qualifying weekends for that because I was playing for Canada for international duties with Emma. So yeah, I actually didn't play in that event.
Yeah, just as well too. You would have been nearly too busy.
Pretty good excuse not to
Yeah.
be in the pairs, to be honest.
Absolutely.
I was wondering. I was flicking through the bowls and results earlier, and just to say, oh, where did she fall over somewhere? But now I could see that you didn't actually play in it. So Hong Kong Classics are pretty fair. We're not to go to.
When you get the invitation to that, you always go because it's an amazing. Yeah, the hospitality over in Hong Kong is amazing, and yeah, it's a great trip.
We have heard that. We haven't been good enough to be picked to go to that, but we have heard that from a lot of people we talk to. So, just while you're talking about it, I mean, you're talking about the mental side of it as well, and the flexibility that you need because the schedule's constantly changing. People don't really take that into account, but there would have been a lot of extra attention on you then too, because this game's been changed now because of Kelly, and this game's been changed because of Kelly, and this game's been changed because of Kelly. Like, a lot of added attention coming there, maybe a little bit of pressure on top of that too, was there?
I think you just have to. I didn't really feel any of the pressure. It is what it is, and the fact that I kept winning, made a bigger challenge here and there. But really, it was just kind of one game at a time. I actually didn't look, in terms of the scheduling and the draw, who I potentially was going to play the next game, or I just showed up at the greens 9:00 every morning, and wherever they told me to go, that's where I unpacked my gear and played my game. It was very much one game at a time, one bowl at a time, and everything just kind of lined up and worked out. But definitely from the mental side of things, I was absolutely wrecked by the end of it. But I'm glad that I was able to get through the 20 games and to come away with 4 state titles and a runners-up I still actually can't believe it hasn't sunk in quite yet.
That's awesome. That's good to see that it's still pretty humble about it all too. Like, it hasn't sunk in. Like, you've just done all that and still just trying to let it get the realization there of what you've achieved. Not being down in the Victoria area or really looking back into it in too much detail just yet. Has anything like this been done before? Has anyone done almost a Grand Slam, or have you just basically set the bar now for everyone else to try and follow?
Yeah, look, I'm not quite sure actually. I've been playing in the state championships for the past 10 years. I can't recall anyone ever doing that within kind of that 10-year period. Not to say that it hasn't happened before though, but yeah, it's something that, down the track, just to qualify for 5 events, let alone making the final in 5 events. Yeah, you're absolutely stoked. You're absolutely stoked winning 5 region titles, let alone the end result of getting to state finals is absolutely nuts. So who knows if it will ever happen? I've been thinking about this. Let's say next year that something like that happens. I don't know. It's a pretty hard feat to think that it's going to be hard for me to replicate that, for example. So yeah, it's pretty special, and it's pretty cool to have my name kind of attached to that.
Well, you just touched on that there, like trying to replicate that potentially. Is that, we talk about goals and stuff, goal setting and stuff and that, is that a goal that you'll be setting yourself to try and go one better or to match that or to see what you can do next year?
Oh, you're always looking to push yourself and push the limits and whatnot. And obviously, usually going, into, if you win a state title, your goal the following year is to go back to back, or in this case, back to back to back. But that's no easy feat. And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And even if you put the hard yards into it and you're in form and you think you're playing well, things do have to align properly. There's a lot of good players here that can pip you along the way. So I'm just super fortunate that I did what I did, and it's pretty incredible. So I'm really looking forward to going to nationals in November. That's in Tasmania. So cannot wait to represent Victoria in that.
Well, that leads well into the next question. How are you going to prepare for that? You're in almost in every event. That's pretty impressive. So what's your mindset going to be like going into that? What's the preparation going to look like?
Oh, I think that's going to be very much like what going into that state championships look like. It's it's potentially 5 days of 4 games a day against other state winners, and so that every game is going to be hard, but it's just one game at a time, one bowl at a time, and hopefully you play at your best. I'll probably be coming off of going to Hong Kong. I've been picked for the World Cup.
Oh, very good.
In November. So congratulations for that. So thank you very much. Yeah. So hopefully that will be a nice kind of warm up, I guess, from a competitive side of things to make sure that we kind of hit the ground running and can perform at my best in Tassie.
Has the thought ever crossed your mind about changing allegiances? Have the Australians come knocking at any point and saying, come play with us?
No, they haven't, but I do get asked that question quite a bit, actually, because I have been here for so long. So, I am an adopted Victorian, even though I'm not a citizen. That would be something that, I'd have to become a citizen. I'd have to, relinquish my rights to play for Canada before playing in another country for another country. But I've been doing it for so long, playing internationally, that I think that when I'm done playing internationally, then that's it. I think that I don't think I'll play for any other country.
Yeah, I could see. Canadian born and bred all the way through. Love it. Love it.
Yep, absolutely.
Simon, can you remember those stats from last? How many bowls was it?
1,600 bowls over that space of 7 days, Kelly.
It was 8 days, Kel?
I think it was 7. So we started. So cool. the Thursday, Friday was the pairs event that I wasn't in, and the fours campaign started on the Saturday, and we finished on the on the Friday. So cool. Yeah, it's 7 days, and that's a lot of bowls when you just say the numbers like that. It's a lot of repetitions, a lot of bowls, and something really hard to prepare for, because you're on the greens from 9 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night sometimes.
Yeah, as she said, and Simon Reddow too. It was meant to equate to about 2.5 pennant seasons, to be taking into account the home and away. You guys, just out of curiosity though, 1,600 bowls over 7 days. How many wrong bass did you put down?
0. But I did hear that someone on the show may have played one last weekend.
Yeah. Thanks, DJ, for bringing that back up again. I'm going to see how many episodes this lasts. Really,
man, I'm able to get some mileage out of this.
This is too. Let's see how long this goes for.
Oh man, I've been waiting for that one all day. All them other questions were just leading to that.
And I reckon it's all because of you have to have a good pre-shot routine, Simon.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
You tell him, Coach Kelly. You tell him.
Yeah. The pre-shot routine was out the window, I think, for that one, most definitely. So, yeah. Lesson learned.
And you're probably going to cop it for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely from the co-host, and no doubt from the rest of the Tarn Point teammates as well.
Yeah. It wouldn't be like me. It wouldn't be like me to let something go, would it?
No.
All right, Kel. Back to your career. We've talked about Simon enough. Right. Goals. What have you got set for yourself going forward? Obviously, in the near term, we've got Hong Kong, we've got the Nationals. On the international stage, what have you got on your bucket list, on your list of you would like to achieve before you hang the bowls up?
Yeah, so from a world championship side of things, coming away with a gold medal would be unbelievable. Been very close on several occasions, so that's definitely right up there to potentially 4 world championships in a row with a medal, and hopefully a gold to kind of complete the collection would be amazing. My successes probably haven't been as good at a Commonwealth Games side of things, so to come back with the Commonwealth Games medal is definitely on my list as well. So those would be probably the 2 main things internationally that before I hang my boots up, would like to at least do my best to try and achieve.
Have you got a time frame on that, Kelly? Just out of curiosity, have you got a set time in your head where you think maybe do 1 more, 2 more, 3 more worlds? Or are you just going to basically play it by ear and see how you go?
I think it's just playing it by ear, and when you have the drive and the passion and you still really enjoy it, then I'll keep doing it. As soon as the drive, the passion, and the enjoyment kind of disappears, or you're not as motivated to do it, then that'll be the time that I hang things up. But at this stage, there's no real time frame on it. It's just kind of how you feel in that kind of 2 to 4 year cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So just on that as well then, what type of contact have you got with bowls back in Canada? Are you on regular? Do you have to report back to them regularly with drills and stuff like that? What's the Yeah, basically what I'm trying to get at is what boxes do you need to tick, I's dotted, T's crossed, to make sure that you're constantly in their thoughts when it comes to selection time?
Yeah. So we do touch base and keep in contact with the IST team back home. So our coach back home, work with sports psychologists, nutritionists, and a part of that group that we're very lucky to have from a national team side of things. So it's monthly reporting to the coach, basically keeping them up to date with what's happening, how you're going, the work-life bowls balance, all that kind of stuff that goes into, the time that you put into being on the national team. So yeah, it's I guess one of those challenges that, with myself and a few other Canadians being in Australia, and the rest of the team being back in Canada, it is a challenge, especially from a team side of things when you go away, that you don't have as many opportunities to play alongside each other, which I think, you look at the countries that do really, really well on a consistent front, they have so much opportunity to play alongside each other, which unfortunately we don't, but we do our best with what we have, and it is a really great group of teammates that I have, and I have had in the past. I've been very, very lucky that way. So yeah, it's going to be a quite a busy kind of 16 to 18 months going forward, but yeah, I can't wait to wear the maple leaf again.
Yeah, great. And that obviously sort of suits you. Like you said, the drive and everything's still there. I compare that with some of the Jackaroos that we've spoken to, and they tend to suffer a bit of burnout, I suppose, too. Would you see that, like, from being around the international stage? I mean, there'll be a bit more turnover maybe in the Australians as well. Do you see a bit of burnout from them girls that have to go through the Jackaroo process?
Oh, look, any commitment when you're committing to being on a national team, and there's so much depth in Australia too, right? So there's always the next person kind of right on the doorstep to take your spot. So I think that there's a lot of pressure that because of that depth happens here in this country, and the program and the because we can play 12 months a year here, I can definitely see the burnout happening, and I make sure myself as a player that I make sure I take that time away to make sure I don't burn out and you peak for the right events at the right time. So, although, state championships was massive, people go, you're going to be training the next day. And I go, no, I'm literally taking a month and a bit off of bowls, not playing anything competitive, and then hopefully trying to peak again for the Aussie Open in June. So that's kind of my next event. But it's really important to take that time away and recharge those batteries so you don't burn out, so that you still maintain that enjoyment.
100%. That's really good to hear, that side of things. Like we said, we know, because the three of us here that are talking now are all based in Australia. We know what it's like. We know how hard hitting it is, how much pressure them guys and girls are under to play in every event, go and try to win every event, go to Jackaroo camps and stuff. So it's interesting to hear from someone else who's achieved so much in the game from a different country and not based in that country, just how you sort of get through those selection things and what you need to do to keep, as I said, in the forefront of the minds of the selectors every time. So that's a good insight, Kelly. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, it's definitely different. But I think the program, that the Canadian program, has really evolved over the years as well, and I think that they have modeled themselves a little bit off of the powerhouse nations like the Australias and the Englands and Scotlands, and looking at what these countries are doing so well to constantly produce these amazing players, the players that are producing unbelievable results event in and event out, and trying to mimic that the best way we can with the resources that we have.
100%. I mean, it's the best country in the world to be playing in. They're professional in what they do. It's only right that everyone copies it. We've seen it. Simon and I see it back home in Ireland, from where we were when we left there to where it is now, with Neil Booth being in a professional role where he's paid by the governing body to organise these things, and the different camps and stuff they all go through nowadays too. It's definitely evolving, and you got to keep up with the Joneses, I suppose. And when Australia's leading the way like they do, you got to do everything you can to try and match that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Kelly, so you take, you've talked about the amount of bowls you play in different events, tournaments, international, national tournaments, things like that. You spend a lot of time on the green. You've obviously talked there about taking breaks and sort of peaking at the right time when the tournaments are coming up. If there's any aspiring bowlers out there, apart from obviously trying to manage the amount of time on the green, peaking for certain events. What kind of tips would you give? Like, for instance, do you do pure drills on the green, Kelly, or is it more match play? Would you focus on certain weaknesses? How do you sort of take your training and developing your game? How do you go about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think honesty and reflection is really important. So, debriefing after games and, identifying, okay, here are my strengths and this is what I did really well this game or this tournament. And then identifying kind of the work-ons and then really making sure that your training kind of reflects your work-ons. So you're practicing with purpose rather than just practicing for the sake of practicing.
Yep.
And making sure that when you are practicing, you have a couple of goals or a couple of work-ons that you really want to work on, go succeed at it, build that confidence, and then get off the green. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't have to be on the green for 3 hours practicing. You can be on the green practicing for 25 minutes. Once you achieve and you feel confident in that particular skill or setup, get off because you've succeeded at it. So you build that confidence through your training.
Very good. Good tip out there for any listeners out there. Maybe good one for you, DJ. You've been going through a bit of the yips, haven't you? So you've been telling us. So maybe you can take that, DJ. Just go down, roll a few bowls, and when they come out good, call it a day. Back into the office and get some work done at Maitland City, eh?
Absolutely. I still haven't threw it wrong by.
But also, knowing your process and knowing your tendencies are really important too. So, but yeah, going out there, practicing with purpose and, just not rolling up for the sake of rolling up.
Yep. Awesome. Great advice there from somebody that's been there, done it, been all over the world, and obviously won some great events and great titles over the years. So some great advice there for our listeners.
Just before we crack on with the quick fire, Kelly, I just say it's been a great chat to have with you. It's the first time I've really got to sit down and speak to you. I know Simon's met you before. So, mate, thanks for giving up the time to come and do this. This has been a real great insight. Thanks for Ali for giving you permission to come and do this as well, because I know how tentative he might have been around that. But no, really, we really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, not a problem at all. I mean, I'd have you back. I could be out for a co-host here in a minute. But no, it's just... No, we really do appreciate when, bowlers like yourselves give up the time to come and have a talk to us about their career and things like that there. It gives a real good insight. It helps our listeners as well. And yeah, it's just really good. So if you're all right, we're going to crack on with some of the quick fire stuff. We'll say quick fire. You don't need to rattle off the first thing, but just your basic questions like what make, model, size of bowl are you using at the minute?
Yep. So here in Melbourne, I use size 3 tailored GTRs. When I head up to the Gold Coast or playing on anything a little bit faster, I go to my SRs, but that's what I play with here. And when I go internationally and playing something a little bit slower, I play with my size 2 aces. Nice.
So not only just chop and change in models, you actually chop and change sizes sometimes?
Yeah. Look, it's just what feels comfortable in my hand. So the slower the green, I just go down that size just for a little bit more security and comfort in my hands. So I can manage getting away with a bigger size here in Australia on the faster greens.
Yeah, nice. Best greens you ever played on?
Oh, Broad Beach green 4.
Hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah, love it.
Favorite player to play with?
Favorite player to play with? Pretty cool when I was living back home, getting the opportunity to play a lot with my dad.
Very good. I'm sure Ali will accept that.
We call it the mixed pairs. We call divorce pairs. It only happens once or twice a year. So,
oh man, I think you deserve a medal living with him, let alone playing with him. We'll let that go there.
Hopefully, he doesn't listen to this.
Nah.
Okay, Kelly. Is there any players out there that you hate to face, either because they're a pain in the neck when you're playing them, or just because they're so competitive and it's hard to beat?
Yeah, Jo Edwards, when she was playing internationally, super, super tough to beat. You always knew you had to play at your best, and even your best probably at the time wasn't good enough. And she was able to play super well on basically any surface, Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, indoor, outdoor. So obviously she's hung up the boots for New Zealand, but I would say as a competitor, she was right up there with probably the most challenging player to play against, but always loved having our battles.
My favorite club to be at?
In terms of my own playing club, where I have played?
Any club you've been to worldwide, what's the favorite club you've been to?
Oh, I've been to so many. That's I want to say that the host club that we had in Ayr, in 2007, my debut was Gift Knock. That was probably one of the coolest experiences from like a super local side of things, and their hospitality was unbelievable.
Nice. That's a good one to dive back into. I was just like how you rubbed salt into the wounds there to say, oh, I've been to so many clubs. All right, Kelly, calm down.
Well, you're putting me on the spot though, because really it's when you do go and you travel around and you have your host clubs and everybody makes you feel so welcome, and the hospitality is always amazing. So it is really hard to kind of pinpoint one that says, oh, that's the best, because really all the host clubs that I've ever had along the way have been incredible.
Very good. What's the favorite country you visited traveling around when you're playing bowls?
I love New Zealand.
Nice. Brownie points there. All right, cracking on. Best friend off the green, Kelly.
Oh, probably Ali. Is that too cheesy?
Nah.
You're all good. Have you got any hobbies off the green? Anything away from bowls you like to do?
I love to travel. I'm a bit of a foodie, so I love going and finding new places to eat, different cultures, things like that. So yeah, definitely a foodie and a bit of a whiny. So yeah, love doing that.
Nice. Being out here in Australia, it doesn't have to necessarily be any sports teams from here, but any favorite footy code? I know when we interviewed Ryan Bester, he was a big NFL fan. Any particular sport you're into and what team you're into?
Well, I grew up in Toronto, so any Toronto-based teams, I still follow them quite religiously. So, and the Maple Leafs, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Blue Jays. Here in Australia, I had to pick a footy team basically straight away when I first moved out here. So, my AFL team are the Sydney Swans. So, even though I live in Melbourne, I do support the Sydney Swans. So, that would be my Australian team that I follow.
I'm going to fire back at Simon here. Toronto Raptors, Simon, name the sports.
No idea.
Basketball.
Basketball, well done.
Maple Leaf, Simon, what have you got?
Ice hockey.
Yeah, good boy.
Hey.
Yeah, well done.
Did you play any other sports when you were younger, and what level did you play it to?
Yeah, so I curled quite competitively, actually. So, yeah, so it's part of the junior program, and yeah, so that it's pretty cool actually. A few of the ones who are kicking serious goals and winning national titles and world titles, I actually curled juniors against them. So it's pretty cool to see them going and doing what they're doing and how they've excelled and gotten so much better than throughout the years, and that's pretty cool to see. And I also play basketball quasi-competitively, just at a high school level, nothing super competitive, but predominantly bowls and then curling and then a little bit of basketball.
Very good. Oh, I'd love to try curling now.
Yeah, I'd love to give it a go too, DJ, but I don't know. You'd probably end up on your back a few times, wouldn't you? Like, you definitely would. You've got no center of gravity, have you?
Depends how good your balance is.
What are you curling if you're ending up on your back? Don't you push forward?
You would end up on your back.
Mate, it would suit you. You wouldn't be able to throw a wrong pass because it's just straight, them things. See how much mileage I'm getting already, Kelly? I'm not even trying here. You mentioned you're a bit of a foodie. What's your favorite food and drink?
I love Thai food. Thai food. And from a drinking side of things, I always enjoy my trips to Adelaide and the Barossa and wine country. So
you sound way too distinguished to be with Ali Forsyth.
Oh,
You see Ali sipping.
Wine to wine or two, but
Do you mean a wine to drink or a wine when he's complaining on the grade?
wine without the H.
Simon, I hope we've got good lawyers after this show. Okay. Kelly, you like to travel a bit too, so where's your favorite holiday location?
I haven't had a holiday in a while. I always do like my trips up to the Gold Coast, just as a bit of a getaway. Beautiful part of the world.
Hard to beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If you weren't playing bowls, what do you think you'd be doing?
Oh, that's a very good question. So I was a teacher, so from like a job employment side of things, I'd probably go back to teaching. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. From a sporting side of things, if I were to play another sport, probably a sport like maybe golf or tennis or something like that, where there's a little bit more coin involved.
I love us. Okay, last one on bowls, mate. If you could change one rule in the game, what would it be?
the respot. I'm going to sound like Bester there. No, the respot, I think that, it's either time limit or respot, one or the other. And I think that, having the respots changed the strategy side of the games quite a bit. But it's taken away the opportunity to, replay and then kind of taking that skill a little bit away or change the value of that skill, I guess. So, getting rid of that respot.
No, I'm with you. It's a big part of the game, I think. Like there's a skill in that particular shot to be able to nominate that I want to kill that. It is. I'm with you on that one. I like that one.
I'm not copying Lester, but it's not a Canadian thing or anything, but
purely coincidental.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
Kelly, just to put you on the spot, rate the What a Load of Bulls podcast out of 10.
Oh, 10 out of 10. How's that?
I think a couple of other guys give us 11 and 12, but that'll do. It's good. It's good to see that you listen, mate. It's good to see that you listen.
So bad.
Well, that'll do us, folks. Kelly, honestly, I've already said it, but thanks again for coming on, giving up the time. Our first lady bowler that we've had on the podcast, so breaking new ground, mate. Well done.
Oh, fantastic. Love that. No, thanks so much for having me. It's pretty cool to, have a chat and talk about what I've been doing, but also, any exposure in terms of this great game and what you guys are doing is fantastic. So keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, mate. We're certainly enjoying doing it, and mate, I'd have you back on here anytime. I've really enjoyed this one.
Brilliant. Thanks so much, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Kelly McKerihen. Great insight there, Simon, from one of the best lady bowlers around in Kelly McKerihen.
Yeah.
You like that chat, mate?
That was good, yeah. Like, I knew Kelly prior to the chat. I knew her through Ali, and I knew she was a really good bowler in her own right, and obviously what she's achieved on the Canadian stage and on her move over to Australia. She was already a sort of established international bowler, but yeah, she's definitely sort of took it to that next level, certainly recently, and what she's won and achieved. But it's great to hear from her and sort of her insight into playing like that long and that amount of games, that amount of bowls, and a little bit about what her thoughts were during that time and how she prepared or how she does prepare for certain tournaments like that. So it was really good to hear.
It was, mate. It was very, very good. And it leads us well into our next section around the greens.
Yeah.
As we know, we touched on there with Kelly. The reason we had Kelly on there so quickly was because of the Victorian titles. Like, she just went off. So she did winning everything there except for the Women's Champion singles, where she was runner-up to Kylie Lavis. Kylie defeated Kelly 25-21 in that. Then the men's singles, Tyson Cromie was the victor over Nathan Lynch with 25-17. And then in the men's champion of champions, Kelly's partner, the second best bowler in the household, Ali Forsyth, was in the final there against David Wells, mate. It looks like they were going for a champion double, and Ali held his end of the bargain up with a 25-16 win.
Good on Ali.
So he did. So very interesting there, mate. We always like to talk about state titles around the states because all this leads on to nationals. So it does. And everyone's playing them a little bit different. So Victoria's sticking strong with the regional winners going through. So there's 16 regional winners go through to the state.
Yep.
But very interesting, they also play their champion champions at the same time as the rest of them, whereas Bowls Who Says Wheels do theirs a bit different.
Yeah. They do. They play champion singles and champion pairs at a different time in Bowls New South Wales, so it's not all on the same week as whenever you play your singles, pairs, triples, fours. So yeah, I guess that leads to the likes of if a Kelly gets through to in all the events, it does come a bit of a nightmare when you run in a tournament like that. How often does that happen? Probably not that much, but when it does, I'm sure that's a bit of a headache from an administration point of view and trying to run the tournament. But interesting that they do run their champions at the same time as their state championships.
Absolutely. Speaking of our friends at New South Wales, we'll move on to the New South Wales titles. Now, there is 1,000 to get through here, so we're just going to focus on the singles. So apologies to anyone out there, all right, who's won a state title. Congratulations, absolutely brilliant. But we are going to focus on the singles, except for one small detail, Simon. I'm going to veer from that for one little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Men's senior fours.
Oh, yes.
Club Maitland City.
Woo!
Mark Unicum, Ronald Solomons, Paul Chapman, and Clayton Parker Congratulations, man. Senior Fours champions for the 2024-2025 season. Mate, they'll tell you themselves they were paying about 1,500 to 1 to win that.
Yeah.
But all you got to do is you got to be in it to win it, mate. They trailed the final at the regional level by 13 shots with only about 6 or 7 ends to go.
So just to get through, they scraped through and then ended up winning the
against
state
another Maitland City team as well.
Oh.
But mate, yeah, Clayton Parker went cataclysmic in that game. He was playing shots unbelievable, so he was. But yeah, they got themselves there. They went up to Ballina, mate. They weren't expecting much. Like, they were excited, they were nervous, they were everything. Like, Mark Unicum was texting me flat out for about a week solid. So it was, what are we doing up here? When are we going there? What are we doing? You know, just tell the nervous energy was building. But mate, couldn't be happier for the 4 fellas to actually get the job done. And then there's a little post put out on them by Hunter Bowles, because 3 of them guys are using the bowling arm.
Okay.
The DHB hacksaw bowling arm, so they are. 3 guys that probably wouldn't be in the game anymore if they weren't using it. And I'm not that happy. Like I said, I haven't gone back and checked all the stats, but I don't know of too many that have won a state title using a bowling arm, a normal state title outside of the normal bowling arm state title. So well done to those 3 fellas.
Well done.
And the trolls and keyboard warriors that are on there are calling them all a cheating stick, and then they only won it because they used a cheating stick. They wouldn't be in the game if they weren't using that particular bowling arm, and you're the problem with the sport, not the people using the bowling arm. So go and have a look at yourself and get off your keyboards and find something better to do with your life. Anyway, moving on, Simon, to some better stuff. We are going to focus on the singles. So New South Wales titles, All Abilities. The All Abilities headed up there. They opened the event off, and it was won by Jimmy Reynolds, who we all know, absolute legend of the All Abilities as well. But
absolutely.
Still playing away in platinum pennant, not putting down wrong bias that we know of anyway. Man, I remember Jimmy from Albion Park days too. He was an absolute legend down there. So it was great to see Jimmy taking that out, and it meant a lot to him too. You could see him just riding the bulls down and, you know, enjoying every shot. So he was. Moving on to the reserve singles, won by Joshua Ingram from Austral. Well done, Joshua. Mate, I think that is the first male winner of that event since we unified the men and the women in New South Wales. I think the last 2 years were won by 2 women. Yeah. I honestly think so. I'll have to check on that one. I think Josh is the first male winner of that since unification. Moving on to the women's singles in St. John's Park. Well done to Brianna getting the better of Sarah Boddington. Sarah's always around when it comes to singles. Fantastic singles player. Led on the New South Wales women's state side for many years. So well done to Brianna on that. And just like Victoria with the Champion of Champions, mate, they were going for a household double. Oh. Yeah. Ben Twist, Brianna's partner, made the final against Cody Packer in the men's singles. But it wasn't to be. Cody Packer ran rampant. So he did, just showing you that the Western Australians can do it in New South Wales.
Yeah.
The 25-8 win for Cody Packer in the men's singles, and well done there. One thing I want to talk about in the men's singles, mate, was there was a particular live stream game that I could not take my eyes off, and it was Lee Schreiner against Benny Twist.
Yeah.
Now,
what was going on?
This was not your regular game, from what I could see. Now, it was the final game of the section.
Mm-hmm.
Lee had lost the game 25-24 as round 1 game. Blitzed the second round. Twisty had already won 2. All right. So it came down to margins. Twisty knew going in. I think, well, both men would have knew, but Twisty knew going in that all he had to do was get to 18 shots. He didn't have to get all the way to the 25.
He didn't have to win.
No, he didn't have to win the game to get through. He just needed to get the 18 shots.
Yeah.
Whereas Leroy had to beat him 25-17 or better.
Yeah.
And you could just tell that's how they were playing it.
Hi.
Just, you could tell that Twisty just had in his head 18 shots, just the whole way the game was going, the shot selections that were coming out, they just everything, made it was just a real interesting dynamic. Listening to the commentators constantly talking about the 18, it was a real dramatic game to actually watch. Like I said, man, I sit and watch the live streams where I can. I'll tune in and out of it while they're on. I couldn't take my eyes off this one, mate. It was brilliant. Just that whole, the extra dynamic to it of one man had to get it was like watching a handicap singles game almost.
Yeah.
So it was almost like watching a handicap singles game. It was, someone had a start over the other. And that's basically what they had. And just a real interesting dynamic. What is it the right thing for a state title is always a question people ask. Can you lose a game and still win a state title? Well, obviously you can, mate. Like, you tell me Lionel Messi can't win the World Cup. Didn't they lose their first game to Saudi Arabia and they went on to win the World Cup? So What's the difference? They go through a qualifying process to get there too. It's the same thing. It's the format of the competition. You know what going in. Don't whinge about it. But it's just that one game in particular really just sort of stood out for me. It was a real interesting watch.
Interesting.
Real cat and mouse game. Chess on the grass. It was a good one. Maybe if you get a chance, I'd go back and watch that one. So it's just, it's very, very interesting. You can just tell. And as soon as Twisty got to the 18, the boys shook hands. They didn't even finish the game.
Yeah, okay.
So then, but just a real interesting one to look back on. Sticking with the singles, mate, the Everest was all over in Western Australia. That big $100,000 singles event.
$100,000, that's pretty big for a singles event.
Absolutely. I think 50 of that goes to the winner.
Oh.
So it does. So that's a year's salary for me in one couple of days for these guys. Unbelievable. So, congratulations to the king of the mountain, who was Aaron Tees. Aaron had a 31-19 victory over Matty Peterson in the final. Interesting, mate. They play sectional play.
Yeah.
Qualify through, you play more sectional play. Then it's 21 up the whole way through to there. Then you get to the quarterfinals and they play 21 up. Then you get to the semifinals, and from what I can see, they play 25 up. And then you get to the final and they play 31 up. So you're earning your money for that 50K in the final, aren't you? But playing 31.
A few extra ends, to get up to that $100,000. So
Absolutely.
So he told me you play 31 up for $100,000. Most definitely, I'd play the 51 up if you told me. So yeah,
you have to get there to get the $100,000, but Simon.
Yeah, I know.
You're not playing Ray Pierce this time, but your Ray would fire up more. For those that aren't familiar with that, we're just referring back to Simon's major singles win at Tower Point. Simon, hit back on that. Any wrong bias in the final?
No, not in that final.
Good on you, mate. Good on you. The World Indoors is still going ahead over in Aberdeen, mate. I think the Aussies are doing pretty well, but we might leave that for the next episode. So we will. We've had a pretty good chat there with Kelly. We've announced our new sponsor. We've looked around the greens, so I think we'll maybe leave it for there this week, mate. And we'll bring you the World Indoors next time around in 2 weeks' time when we're back.
Absolutely. Thanks for listeners for tuning in. Hopefully you got some good info out of this week's episode. And look, remember, spread the word about this great podcast and the best bowls podcast going around. So get anyone at your club that's you think might be interested, get them to like, follow, share on all the usual platforms, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. You can follow us on a fortnightly basis.
And now that we've got our new platinum sponsor, you can, if you need a car or a truck rental in the Newcastle area, make sure you jump onto the Newcastle Car Truck Rental. Get in touch with Todd, Holden and all that there, folks, and support them as well as they support our podcast. So, as always, folks, that's it for this week. Keep that little disc on the inside.
And good luck on those greens. The views, information, or opinions expressed during What a Load of Bulls podcast episodes are solely those of the individuals involved and do not represent those of any group, organization, or employer associated or affiliated to individuals. This podcast is for general information purposes only, to educate and inform. This podcast does not constitute professional advice or services. What a Load of Bulls does not guarantee the accuracy or reliability of any opinions expressed or statements made within episodes.